Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Productize podcast. My name is Carolina, and I'll be your host today. For the past few years, we've been doing a series of interviews with product innovators, successful makers, and entrepreneurs. Our mission is to inspire, connect, and empower more people to get into product roles and help you be a better professional. Today, I'm going to be talking with Anita Grumels, Senior Product Manager at Farfetch, on the topic of sustainable product management at Farfetch. If you have any questions, just leave them in the chat and we will get back to you at the end. Hi, Anita. Welcome. Where are you now and how are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm good, thank you. I hope you're well too. I'm currently in Cornwall, in the south of the UK, and typical British summertime and spring weather. It has been raining the last couple of days, so I didn't really get the timing right, but I'm still happy to be here and be in the countryside.
Well, you should come to Lisbon because you're having great weather. I was at the beach last weekend just to make you a bit jealous.
Yes, yeah. I
Yeah,
was at the beach too, although I'm sure it was much colder here.
yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
Nice. Can you tell us a bit about your background and how did you get into product management?
Yeah, I'd be really glad to. I started my career in customer service, so working in a contact center where I was answering customer queries over the phone. And this gave me a really good understanding. Well, in hindsight, this is obvious, but at the time I didn't recognize that. But it gave me a great understanding of customer needs and what it's really like talking to people and really listening to them. So you can't brush over things when you've got someone on the other end of the line. And obviously, like, this isn't a formal start in product management, but if as a product manager, we believe, and I believe, that serving customer needs is the mechanism for great products, then in hindsight, this was a really great step and a step in the right direction. I was then fortunate enough to kind of ride the digital wave. So at that same company, I was the youngest person in the team. And so by default, I was given all the social media accounts to manage, because it was assumed that I'd be the most kind of digitally savvy, probably much to their knowledge. I probably wasn't, but, I really leapt on that opportunity. And I think it's really important to seize those type of opportunities that are one-offs when you're given to them, because you never know where they may lead. And obviously this is a summarized view, but I think then that was a really great springboard into working in e-commerce roles. So e-commerce at that time was really about maximizing sales, selling and converting en masse. That was really the focus. So I know that sounds really arbitrary and narrow, but that's kind of where the industry and roles were at the time. However, my career and the industry evolved from there to kind of focus more on customer engagement. So, more explicitly listening to customers and then learning how to implicitly listen to those customers. So serving them with personalized experiences, having dialogue with them, and regardless of their intent, so not just about selling and buying products. And I think then that evolved into what we now call product management, so end-to-end customer experience management, which is really what I see as product management. So I really see kind of layers of product management throughout my career, although it wasn't always formally stated, but always it was about solving customer needs with technology to make their lives easier. And I think that is what product management is to me.
Okay. And what about your role at Farfetch? Is it also about solving customer needs? Can you tell us a bit about that and, what do you like the most about it?
Yeah, definitely. My role at Farfetch, so I'm the Senior Principal for Sustainability Products, and my role is to enable our customers and partners to think, act and choose positively and in a more sustainable way. So examples could be by creating new journeys, tooling or services, or even by exposing more information to enable better choices. So yes, it's definitely an amalgamation of lots of the challenges I've had throughout my career, and I'm really fortunate to be able to focus in on what I'm the most passionate about, and that's product management and sustainability all in one role. So what do I like most about it? I think I like a lot of things about it. As I just touched on, I'm really passionate about those two areas. I love problem solving, and I am passionate about sustainability. I think what I particularly like about it, and what I like the most, is that it is a challenge. It's a huge, complex topic, and we are genuinely trying to agitate for change. But wherever there is challenge, there is also opportunity. So I most enjoy the opportunity to be able to problem solve and work through these challenges. I genuinely enjoy finding better ways of doing things and creating solutions that can make lives better. I do think, in some ways, constraints help you to be more creative. There's more opportunity for creativity and innovation. And so that's something that I really enjoy about my current role.
Okay, sounds really exciting. And talking about sustainability, where did your journey in sustainability started? Like, what inspired you to work towards that cause?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I wouldn't say my sustainability journey started in my career. I'm really fortunate to have a role that I really enjoy now, but that wasn't my perfect job straight out of uni. I do think that there's ways that you can work towards that. In terms of my journey in sustainability, I think that probably would have then started more in kind of a personal sphere. And I don't think I could precisely pinpoint that start, or maybe I could if I thought more about it. But I do think that those values have always been there. And I think really, if you think about where your values come from, it's probably your family. And maybe even my mum, like she always was civically minded, and she taught me that, with opportunity and privilege comes responsibility. So if you can, then you should. And I recognize that as an individual, I am part of a collective. Like I'm not just, I don't have what I have today purely based on solo effort. It's not you get out what you put in. Well, at least in my opinion. Um, so like, whether that be I live in a country where there's a safety net, or, I live on a planet that gives me nature, and I'm from a family that has given me opportunities. So I feel strongly that it is my responsibility to show gratitude and pay it forward. And I do feel a strong sense of civic duty to make the world a better place than when I entered it.
No, I totally agree. This sustainable walk needs to be a collective effort. Otherwise, we cannot move alone. And talking again about sustainability and now into the fashion industry, how sensitive do you think consumers are about sustainability in fashion?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think what people get concerned about is whether it's intent or whether it's real. Are people willing to put their money where their mouth is? And overwhelmingly, we've seen through our user behaviour that customers do care about minimising their environmental impacts. We released an industry report about a month ago showing that 88% of Farfetch customers care about minimising their environmental impact, and
Amazing.
50%, yeah, I mean, it's great. That's a huge proportion. And 50% say they care deeply. So our customer surveys are telling us that the feeling and the intent is there. But what I think is even more powerful is what their actions are telling us. So, from observing the patterns from the marketplace over the last year, we've seen a huge increase. So people searching for sustainability related terms increased year on year, and that could be things such as faux leather or vegan leather, or eco-nile, which is recycled products. We saw the visits to the Conscious collection grew 392% year on year, so they almost quadrupled. And Conscious product sales grew 3.4 times faster than the marketplace average in 2020 versus 2019. So I think, they're really powerful stats to reference, because what it says is that not only do our customers care, they're willing to do something with those emotions and put feelings into action. I think, what we saw happen last year, well, and still a bit so now, being within a global pandemic, suddenly global issues became really localized. And I think the pandemic really crystallized our interconnectedness and our impact is within a global community. And I think these contextual factors, they haven't changed the way that people are thinking, but they've really accelerated and crystallized what's been there for a long time. And really that's helped to move sustainability from the fringe to the mainstream. So our luxury shoppers globally are choosing to act more sustainably in their shopping behavior without a doubt.
Okay, that's great. Really happy to hear that. And now,
Mm.
more on the industry perspective, how far ahead or behind do you think that the luxury fashion industry is in general in terms of sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's a really challenging question to answer because we don't externally benchmark as a whole industry. But so I don't think necessarily we are ahead or behind, but realistically, there are huge opportunities for focus and for growth, and they'll need our focus attention really collectively if we do want to create a better future. So we have, as Farfetch, as a company, we have stated publicly our sustainability goals so that we have clear internal goalposts that we can work towards as a company and we can agitate the industry towards. And I think, that's the type of response and intent that's needed for the challenge at hand. That kind of clearly indicates where we want to go so that we can all work together to get there.
Yeah, I mean, the collective effort that we were talking about. That's
Mm.
great. And what do you think is the biggest challenge of sustainable innovation in fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think sustainability is a huge, complex challenge. So I'm probably going to choose two, if that's okay. I think, look, one of our goals is to make and help support making fashion circular. So our 2030 goal, our Positively Far-Fetched 2030 goal, or one of them, I should say, is to be more circular than linear. And this is a huge operational challenge. So how do you universalize an approach to secondhand shopping when the stock is varied and the seller network is disparate, and sometimes the stock comes from individuals rather than companies, I should say. And so just looking outside of fashion, we've all shopped, or most of us have probably shopped secondhand furniture. Secondhand shopping outside of fashion is a huge, huge faff for customers. It's not on demand and it's not seamless the way we're used to everything being on demand. So, now everything like taxis, or I should say Ubers, food deliveries on demand, streaming's on demand, dating's on demand, everything is frictionless. But secondhand shopping is not there yet. So, there are different ways to talk about the condition of items and the product details and the location, and that requires kind of mental time to decipher. So, for example, if you think about shopping kind of secondhand furniture, or I'm trying to think of something else that's quite common to buy secondhand. But, my version of a pristine condition may be someone else's version of messy. So who's correct here? And I think that's the real challenge we have. So how can we enable two parties to talk in the same language so that that process is seamless and so that that process doesn't require time for someone to decipher what pristine means? I'll give you some non-fashion examples. I bought what I thought was 2 chairs from a secondhand furniture site, and actually I had bought 2 dozen. So you can imagine when they arrived, obviously there's a logistics issue sending back chairs. I don't even know, I can't even tell you how much faff that was trying to send back 10 chairs. I just think I have paid so much money in the shipping. that
That's crazy.
I could have kept the chairs. Anyway, like if I wasn't a super user, like people aren't willing to invest that much time, even if they do want to spend or shop in a more circular way. And I think another example is, so myself being a seller. So I recently listed one of our sofas, and I think like there's only so many ways you can say that this is a 2-seater sofa in green. And then, that's what I thought, but still, what color is the sofa? Green. Cool. What color is the sofa? Green, as per the pictures, as per the description. And that really, when we think about what will make this seamless, we need to make sure that if we're going to achieve our 2030 goals, so back to the Farfetch example now, shopping secondhand needs to be as luxury and as seamless as buying new, and all the things that prevent it from being so. That's the solution, and that's our challenge to solve. And essentially, that's the product roadmap. I did say there was 2 challenges, so if you let me, I'll expand on the second, because I think, to be fair, there's more than 2 challenges, but I couldn't pick one. So I will outline another, because I do think it's probably relevant for the audience.
Yeah, of
Our
course.
second goal in the Positively Farfetch statement is enabling 100% conscious sales by 2030, and that's also a huge challenge. So I'm starting to now reflect on the huge challenge that I've got ahead of myself and getting a bit overwhelmed. But really, when you pare that back, our intent is to make it easier for consumers to choose wisely by providing them the relevant information. So, there is an obvious part of this, and that's kind of provide them with the information that they need to make the decisions that they want to. And so we do partner with an external agency called Good On You to help us signpost more conscious choices to those consumers. But as I said, that's kind of the obvious part, so exposing what happens. The second and less straightforward part of this challenge is how we talk about and expose the value of an item or the value of an experience. And by that, I don't mean like the obvious value, which is the price. Obviously, we display the price on all items. But how else do we start to show value and facilitate consumers to value a more nuanced and complex view of luxury fashion? Because luxury, to me, is not reflected by a price point. It's really a reflection of the value created during artisanal craftsmanship processes. It's a reflection of the attention paid to the fabric, fit and fabrication, and the attention paid to enrich a customer's experience and their expression. So really what we want to surface is the provenance and the story of a piece, and showcase how things can be cherished. So similarly, from a customer's point of view, beyond objectively how it was created and what can be valued, I think there's also kind of a subjective value creation process. So we ideally, customers are thinking will it enable them to express their unique style aesthetic? Will it be valuable to them specifically, regardless of how it's made? Will the piece offer durability and versatility within their wardrobe? Will they be able to pass it on to their children? So these are considerations that we need to take into account and expose, so that customers can make informed decisions about the value for them, not just the value of the price.
Yeah, of course. What you're saying right now, I think it goes along with my next question. You can do the correlation, which is, what is Farfetch's vision regarding sustainability, and how, as a marketplace, what can be Farfetch's role on this sustainable walk?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And again, it's a really huge topic. But in terms of Farfetch's approach, we do have really solid goalposts. We do have a positively Farfetch vision. And by 2030, we want to be positively cleaner. So to be climate positive. And actually, before I go into the 4 pillars, I should explain kind of the umbrella. So we've called our platform Positively Farfetch, as we desire to be the platform for positive change in the industry. And so that's then broken down into kind of the 4 pillars that help us organise our efforts. And the first is around being cleaner, so to be climate positive, and we call that Positively Cleaner. Our goal is to achieve net zero emissions and reduce our footprint, so in line with science-based targets. And we're doing this by offsetting unavoidable emissions and supporting our wider value chain in terms of logistics. The second is around conscious sales. So our goal is to sell 100% conscious products by 2030. And that is the pillar we call Positively Conscious. So what that means from a reality perspective is by 2030, we want to drive all revenue from products that are independently recognised or certified as being better for people, the planet, or animals. The third pillar is called Positively Circular, and that is our goal here is to be more circular than linear. So to do this, we really want to work towards selling more circular and low waste products or use of circular services than sales of products made in traditional and linear ways. And that was referenced in some of the examples I gave prior around the huge operational challenges we face to pivot our products towards that model. Huge challenges that are worth pursuing, I should add. And the fourth is Positively Inclusive. So that is to be a leader in conscious inclusion. And to do that, we're really championing diversity and inclusion, both in our workplace and in the global fashion community. So they're the kind of 4 pillars. Sorry, I was going to say 4 pollers, but that's not a word. Podcasts in the evening are a challenge for my brain, so please excuse my grammar. But I think, they're the 4 pillars that help us to deliver the Positively Farfetch strategy by 2030, and that's something that we're hugely dedicated to achieve. The second part of the question around what's our role, so I think, look, as a marketplace and as a supporter and enabler for the luxury fashion industry, I think our role really is to facilitate and enable. So whether that be through information or through technology. So for example, this could look like using our understanding of customer behaviour, because we do see customer behaviours in real time and their reaction to brand decisions. And I think it's our duty to share this knowledge with the brand and boutique network so that we can facilitate their journey towards positive change through the more technical aspects. So from a technical perspective, it could also mean building the tools for brands and boutiques to help them understand their decisions and what their customers are doing.
Okay, nice. And it's very inspiring to hear those goals as someone that really cares about sustainability. It's inspiring to see that companies so big as Farfetch that is already walking and working towards that. And you're a senior product manager, so I would like to ask you, what should be the product manager mindset to work in sustainability?
Yeah, I think product management for me really is it means serving user needs. So we kind of touched on this at the start, but I believe it's about understanding and serving user needs via great technology and on-site experiences. So if you believe that's true, which I do, then sustainability is just another design challenge to solve. And so that's really, in summary, how I think product managers can approach sustainability. I mean, I think what is even worthier about tackling this cause is, there are constraints and there are challenges, but does that incite more creative and innovative solutions? And I think absolutely the answer is yes. So, if we take one of the examples and one of the goals, and that's to be more circular than linear by 2030, if we applied the product management mindset and work backwards, to me, that means we need to start to honour and hold space for different intent. So different, not just purchase intent, above and beyond that. So we need to start thinking about how we serve customers as well as how we sell to them. And what does it look like for an item to have a continuous life? It means that it's repaired. It means that it's given a new home. It could mean that it's donated. So then when you start to ask these questions and you work back from the end state, it becomes really clear what we need to do. So these are services we do offer. You can have your items of clothing repaired through Farfetch Fix. You can donate through Farfetch Donate, and sell your designer bags through Second Life, which is our resale service. So these are all services that we offer at the moment that help to make fashion more circular than linear. I think another aspect of product management in sustainability, and if product management is the angle or the career path that you do want to go down, it's really about how can you serve customers by solving their problems? How can you create value for them? And if you ask the right questions, so you're identifying the right problems to solve more than solving problems right, then I think product management is a really great career path for you.
Thank you. You talked before about Farfetch goals in terms of this sustainable walk. And my question is, how do you measure your progress? How do you measure your achievement?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. We work back from the 2030 goals. So in terms of positively cleaner, it's about understanding our carbon emissions through science-based targets. In terms of positively conscious, really that's understanding volume and our product mix. So proportions and pure numbers. In terms of positively circular, and again, I think this is the great aspect of setting those goals, because it becomes really clear how you can work back from those. We do track the number of customers we have served. I wouldn't say sell, because that it doesn't fit well when you're talking about circular items, and the number of low waste products that we have available, the number of services we have available, and also the number of people using those services. So I think tracking back and working back from now those clearly outlined 2030 goals is really helpful for understanding and working towards success.
Thank you. Now, since we have some questions from the audience, let's take these last 10 minutes to go over them. So we have here the first question related to the second-hand goods from Ventura, and he's asking, how does second-hand goods and luxury match?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think secondhand can be luxury. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I buy a lot of my luxury items secondhand. Farfetch has a pre-owned proposition that grew, significantly year on year versus, 2019. Throughout 2020, we saw huge growth, so more than 100% growth. And so I do think that that's a really strong artifact that showcases that secondhand can be luxury. I think there's a couple of user needs that luxury consumers really look towards the secondhand space to be served from. That's one around accessibility, so luxury items at a more inclusive price point. The second is around uniqueness, and there's a third now which I'm kicking myself for not remembering, but the second around uniqueness is potentially that item is a unique style aesthetic that you won't be able to offer new. You don't want to have something, if you're a user that doesn't want to have something that someone else can potentially buy, buying secondhand and vintage is hugely attractive. And the third is around accessibility, uniqueness, and I can't remember the third now, but I do think what I would say is that the next generation of luxury shoppers, so when we talk about Gen Z, they're hugely interested in secondhand. Yeah. And, they don't see secondhand being different to luxury fashion. Actually, the terms are synonymous.
Yeah, I do agree. And we have here another question also related to this topic from Isabel Novaes Machado. And she's asking, your sustainable approach is to sell goods in secondhand or rent and make sure the goods continue their circular life cycle, like a dress to a special event or jewelry.
Yeah, great. I mean, I've seen that lots of the rental services at the moment, Farfetch's approach to sustainability and circularity, or specifically in the circular pillar, is to enable the sale of secondhand, but also for users to resell their items. So you can provide your items to us, and users can also shop secondhand on Farfetch. We don't currently do rentals, no.
Okay. And another question from also Isabel Novaes Machado. How is your team organized and how do you integrate UX research in your product discovery?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because it's really important. Ideally, all decisions should be based on user needs. So what we like to do, or what would kind of be the ideal process for product management, is to understand our user needs by conducting research, and that's either through interviews or through quantitative research, so surveys. And through that, we aggregate all the feedback we're getting and we kind of summarize that into themes or actionable themes. So if it's becoming apparent that a user need is around ease or seamlessness, then that's something that we would take into a design consideration. The next step then is to develop the how might we statements or design provocation that would help to solve for the customer needs. So usually we have, a bunch of those, probably 10 to 20. And from that, the designers will take them into a design exploration. So usually a design sprint to understand how we can solve those user needs with considered design processes. What then happens from there is kind of the practicalities. So what of these designs can we take forward into the product roadmap? And that might be through a impact analysis, either through estimations or weighing up the both of those. And that's really about understanding what's going to have the most impact for the most effective use of our finite resource, which is our people. So what will have the most what will have the most impact for the least effort? And that is how we tend to create a product roadmap.
Interesting. Another question. I'm happy to see the audience engaging so much with us from Aya. And she's asking, I wonder how you can combine sustainability and business revenue, considering that the best way of being sustainable is to consume less. How would it affect businesses whose goal is to sell the items?
Yeah, look, I think that's a complex question. And to be fair, I don't think I can give that question justice. I don't look into both the sides of that equation. What I would say is that it's not always true that sustainable practices don't make business sense. In fact, often we see the opposite. And so I don't see the reason that they can work separately. What I would say though is making money is not just determined on selling things or selling new products. There are other business models available that are also sustainable that we can utilize to help show that sustainable business models are also profitable. So, one finite example, I'm not saying this is an example for the whole company, is that, repairs service, there is a service or an experience. Now that's not based on selling an item, that's based on repairing an item. So profitable and sustainable. So there are examples where the both can sit comfortably together.
Another question from Mami. What drove Farfetch to set these 2030 goals? For example, what was the catalyzer?
Look, I would love to say I was privy to that process, but actually that's really decided at an exec and a board level. So I can't talk to the why definitively and formally. What I would say from my experience is that I see that Farfetch genuinely believes in achieving its 2030 goals, and is really investing its focus towards getting there. So I'm really proud to work in an organisation that does take it so seriously.
It is great to see your passion, Anita. And as we are approaching the end of the interview, I would like to know what's on your bucket list, professionally and personally.
This is a really hard question to answer. I mean, I think professionally, and I think this is a bit meta, I don't have like a to-do list specifically or like a 10-year plan, which, probably I'll get scolded for tomorrow. But professionally, I know that I'd love to have an impact on policy design and contribute maybe to a diplomatic organisation to change and amend the systems that govern us and the way we do things. So, and in terms of sustainability, I mean, and like Ruth Bader Ginsburg is kind of really an inspiration in this space. She made small incremental changes invisibly and then kind of explicitly. She got a lot of PR over time, but she was really dedicated to the cause, and she took pragmatic steps to make sure that, one decision wasn't going to detriment her whole cause. And I really take learnings from that. I think personally, again, I'm probably a really bad person to ask this question too. Like, I don't have this kind of tick list that I want to work through. And I think, I actually really thought about how to answer this, and I don't think I can answer this question like personally. I genuinely don't think that I want to do anything more or like consume more. And I know that's probably kind of, the stereotype of this type of role, but like I genuinely mean it. What I think is actually I want less. I desire to kind of have a simple life and just be with the people that I love and be connected to nature and, have a garden that I can grow my own food on. So that's the kind of stuff that I aspire to. But I understand that that's a privilege and it needs time and money. So I really want to work to there eventually. And yeah, that's my dream.
What about coming to Lisbon? It's not on your bucket list?
I'm not going to lie, I have been to Lisbon already. I just haven't been there, obviously, since the pandemic. I've been to Lisbon, I think, 3 times, because obviously we've got an office in Portugal. So, yeah, and Porto. Oh, and I've been to the Algarve. So, definitely keen to go there, but it's been ticked off the bucket list.
Great. Okay, we have here have time for one last question from our audience. Here, a question from Ventura, and he's asking, if you started now from zero as a product manager, what would be your first step?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you're starting as a product manager, obviously, ideal state, look for roles where you can start as an associate product manager or even an analyst. But I think there's 2 really valid paths into product management. And I think that that's kind of the quant angle. So lots of analysts or e-commerce specialists I know have moved into product management. The second is around customer service. So if you genuinely enjoy serving customers, identifying their needs and figuring out how to solve their problems, I think that there's a number of times that I've seen product managers come to the product management profession from kind of being on the phone or being an in-store customer service representative. So I think that they're 2 great options to move into product management. That being said, I think product management is quite broad. It requires a problem-solving skill set and an analytical skill set. So I do think that there's multiple paths in. And I know this is kind of what everyone says, but do start with what you enjoy. Try and find at least an industry or a part of a role that is attractive to you and take the first step.
Okay. I think that was very enlightening. And Ventura is actually one of our students from the course that we have in with Wild Code School.
Mm,
So it must be really exciting for him to, learn from a senior product manager. It's also very exciting for me. And
mm.
Anita, thank you so much for taking the time for today. I hope you have a great evening and the rest of the week and a great life. It was a big pleasure talking to you.
Thank
And we
you.
will keep in touch. We'll also have a Medium article of this podcast and it will be recorded. So thank you again. And I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Anita. And thank you to our audience.
Thank you.
Bye.